Ever heard about Foo Fighters?
Foo Fighters, like the band.
No, not the rock band. We're going way back to World War II for this deep dive. Imagine you're a pilot on a night mission. Tense, alert. You're scanning the skies, looking for enemy aircraft.
Right.
And suddenly, a glowing orb appears near your wing.
Oh, wow.
Just cruising alongside you.
No way. What is that?
That's the kind of bizarre encounter that countless pilots described during the war.
Really?
Yeah, baffled everyone.
I bet.
So we're diving into declassified military reports.
Okay.
And those first-hand accounts to try and untangle fact from speculation.
Right.
Maybe uncover some surprises along the way. So to kick things off, what exactly were these mysterious Foo Fighters?
Well, they weren't little green men, despite what some folks might say later on. The earliest reports mostly came from night fighter pilots around 1944.
Okay.
Described them as glowing orbs.
Ah.
Sometimes red, sometimes white, sometimes orange.
Wow.
They could move incredibly fast, erratically, almost as if they were toying with the aircraft.
Like some kind of high-speed game of aerial tag.
Precisely. And here's the truly strange part. They never showed any aggression.
Oh, really?
No attacks, no attempts to cause harm, just not observation or maybe even curiosity. It's this lack of hostility that really sets them apart from your typical wartime encounter.
Okay, I'm already hooked and a little creeped out.
Yeah.
You mentioned this happened to quite a few pilots, not just a one-off thing.
Not at all. These sightings were reported across both the European and Pacific theaters.
Wow.
One of the most well-documented encounters involved a British pilot, Brian Lumsden.
Okay.
Back in 1942, he was flying over France when two amber lights appeared, one higher than the other. They flew in formation with his plane all the way to the English Channel.
You're kidding.
He later described it as an eerie escort.
Wow.
Which I think sums it up perfectly.
Okay, so not hostile, but definitely eerie. You gotta wonder what was going through those pilots' minds. Did they think they were some kind of secret weapon cooked up by the enemy?
Absolutely. That was the immediate assumption on both sides.
Yeah.
In the heart of the war, with tensions running high, every unexplained event was viewed through the lens of suspicion.
Right.
The term Kraut Feuerball popped up.
Kraut Feuerball.
Fueled by fear and paranoia about advanced German technology.
Which, given the context of the time, makes total sense. I mean, this was the era of jet engines and rocket-powered aircraft. Cutting-edge stuff that must seem almost like science fiction itself.
Right.
Was there any specific aircraft they suspected?
Some pointed to the Messerschmitt Me-163 Comet.
The Me-163, okay.
A German rocket-powered interceptor. It was truly revolutionary, capable of incredible speed, far exceeding anything their allies had at the time. Imagine a plane that could literally launch itself into the sky, almost vertically.
That does sound suspiciously like something that could be mistaken for a Foo Fighter, especially in the heat of the moment.
The problem is, the Me-163 had a major limitation, its fuel capacity. It was designed for short, sharp bursts of speed, not sustained flight.
Right.
Especially not at night. So while it might seem like a plausible explanation at first glance, the technical realities just don't add up.
So another theory bites the dust. What's really wild is that you said both sides were reporting these sightings. If it wasn't the Germans, and they weren't the only ones seeing them, what other explanations were on the table during the war? Or did they just chalk it up to wartime stress and leave it at that?
Oh, they definitely didn't just drop it. These sightings caused quite a stir within military intelligence circles. After all, if it wasn't a new weapon, what else could it be? The mystery of the Foo Fighters didn't disappear with the end of the war, you know? If anything, it deepened.
Oh, I'm all ears. So the war ends, the world breathes a sigh of relief, but those Foo Fighter sightings, they kept popping up.
That's right. By the early 1950s, the UFO phenomenon was in full swing, and those wartime encounters were suddenly back in the spotlight. In fact, the CIA took a serious interest in the Foo Fighters.
Really?
Yeah. In 1953, they convened a panel of scientists, intelligence experts, even a few skeptics, known as the Robertson Panel.
Okay.
To try and make sense of it all.
The Robertson Panel, that name rings a bell. Weren't they tasked with looking into the whole UFO craze?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They investigated everything from reported alien encounters to strange lights in the sky. And within their massive report, they dedicated a significant chunk to analyzing those World War II Foo Fighter sightings.
Oh, wow.
After all, these weren't just random civilians. These were trained military pilots.
Right.
Many reporting similar experiences.
Yeah.
It was a puzzle the CIA couldn't ignore.
So what did this panel of experts make of it all? Did they come up with any concrete answers about the Foo Fighters?
They threw around a few ideas,
Okay.
some more convincing than others. One theory focused on what they called electrostatic phenomena, like St. Elmo's fire.
Right, like that ghostly glow you sometimes see around ships and planes during a thunderstorm. Spooky, but not exactly alien technology.
Exactly. They also explored the possibility of electromagnetic phenomena, which are a bit more complex. Think about the way a magnet can create an invisible field of energy around it.
Right.
They wondered if some unknown atmospheric condition could be creating similar fields, messing with pilots' instruments, or even causing visual hallucinations.
Interesting. So we're talking about natural but still not fully understood occurrences, like maybe science just hadn't caught up with what these pilots were experiencing.
That was one line of thinking. They even considered whether some sightings were just ice reflections. Sunlight bouncing off ice crystals in the atmosphere, creating the illusion of a moving light.
Okay, I can see how that could be misinterpreted, especially at night, with adrenaline pumping. But were they really suggesting that all those experienced pilots, all those different sightings, could be boiled down to a few atmospheric quirks?
The panel's conclusions were, let's just say they were more about what the Foo Fighters weren't, rather than what they actually were. They were quick to dismiss the idea of a secret weapon, and they downplayed any suggestion of extraterrestrial involvement. But when it came to definitive answers, the Robertson panel left a lot to be desired.
It sounds like they raised more questions than they answered. No wonder people are still talking about Foo Fighters all these years later. So if even the CIA couldn't crack the code, what other explanations were out there?
Well, some researchers weren't satisfied with vague explanations about atmospheric oddities.
Okay.
They wanted something more concrete, something that could explain the sheer strangeness of those encounters.
And that is where things get really interesting, right? I'm ready for some more, shall we say, unconventional theories. This is the deep dive, after all.
Indeed. And one theory in particular stands out for its sheer audacity. It comes from an Italian researcher named Renato Vesco. Have you heard of him?
Vesco. The name is familiar.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wasn't he the one who wrote that book, Man-Made UFOs? I remember hearing about that. He had some pretty wild ideas, didn't he? Man-Made UFOs? That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's all coming back to me. Vesco wasn't shy about challenging conventional thinking, was he? What was his take on the Foo Fighters?
Let's just say Vesco was convinced that the answer wasn't ice crystals or magnetic fields, but something far more intriguing.
Okay.
He believed the Foo Fighters were actually a top-secret Nazi weapon,
Whoa.
a technological marvel hidden from the world. He even had a name for them. Feuerballs. German for fireballs.
Feuerballs. Okay, that has a nice ring to it. I'll give him that.
Oh, man.
But what exactly were these Feuerballs supposed to be? Did he have any details about how they worked, what they were made of, that sort of thing?
He did. And this is where it gets really interesting. Vesco envisioned a tortoise-shaped craft.
The tortoise.
Powered by a jet engine. Now remember, this was an era of rapid advancements in aviation.
Right.
He proposed that these Feuerballs used spinning gas jets. Think of them like miniature whirlwinds of fire
Okay.
to create that glowing effect that pilots were seeing. And get this, he even suggested they had a rudimentary form of radar to help them avoid collisions and could be remotely controlled.
Wow, a remote-controlled flying tortoise spewing fire from the sky back in World War II. Now, that's what I call thinking outside the box. But as much as I love a good conspiracy theory, was there any actual evidence to support Vesco's claims?
That's the sticking point. While Vesco presented his ideas with great detail and conviction, a lot of his research relied on anecdotal accounts and interpretations of limited wartime documents. He pointed to a few blurry photographs, some rumored sightings of unusual objects being transported by the Germans, but nothing concrete enough to definitively prove his theory.
So a captivating story, but maybe a little light on the hard proof. I guess this is the thing about mysteries like this. There's always room for speculation, for filling in the blanks with our own interpretations. It's easy to get caught up in the what-ifs.
Precisely, and to be fair to Vesco, the lack of concrete evidence doesn't necessarily disprove his theory either. It just means we have to approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism and keep an open mind about other possibilities.
Which brings us back to the drawing board, right? If we're not entirely sold on secret Nazi weapons, and the CIA's explanations felt a little thin, are there any other explanations out there that hold water? Or are we stuck with the "it's a mystery" label forever?
Not Not necessarily. There are a few other theories worth exploring, some more grounded in science than others. One possibility that's been floated is ball lightning.
Tall lightning. Now, that's something you don't hear every day. I have to admit, it always sounded like something straight out of folklore to me. What exactly is it, and how could it explain the Foo Fighters?
Ball lightning is this incredibly rare phenomenon. Imagine a luminous sphere of plasma, essentially a floating ball of electricity. That can last for several seconds, even minutes. And unlike your typical lightning bolt, which is gone in a flash, ball lightning can move erratically, changing direction, hovering, even passing through solid objects.
Whoa, okay, now that's just bizarre. And you're saying this could explain what those World War II pilots were seeing?
It's a compelling theory for a few reasons.
Huh?
The erratic movement, the glowing appearance, the fact that it seems to defy gravity, it aligns with many aspects of the Foo Fighter reports. There are even accounts of ball lightning appearing near aircraft.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here. So, not little green men, but maybe little balls of lightning playing tag with airplanes. Yeah. It's definitely a more natural explanation than a secret Nazi superweapon. But I'm guessing there is still some holes in this theory.
You're right to be skeptical. While ball lightning is fascinating, it's typically associated with thunderstorms. And while some Foo Fighter sightings did occur during stormy weather, many were reported in clear conditions with no thunderstorms anywhere near them.
So another piece of the puzzle that doesn't quite fit. It seems like every time we explore one possible explanation, we encounter another layer of complexity, another reason to scratch our heads. So where does that leave us? Are we destined to forever debate the true nature of the Foo Fighters, endlessly sifting through theories without ever finding a definitive answer?
It's true. We don't have a neat and tidy solution, at least not yet. But that's part of what makes this topic so fascinating, isn't it? The Foo Fighters remind us that there are still mysteries out there, phenomena that even with all our scientific advancements, we haven't fully explained.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe someday we will have our definitive answer, but until then, the mystery and the speculation continues.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? To think that even in the 21st century, with all our technology and knowledge, we're still captivated by these stories of strange lights in the sky, just like those World War II pilots all those years ago. Mysteries that might just turn out to be natural phenomena waiting for us to unravel their secrets. Or perhaps something even stranger. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another journey into the unknown.